All right, welcome to NFL Outdated Cover 2 series. This episode is on the Tennessee Titans, and I am joined by a hardcore Titans fan, Preston Penn. How's it going?
Great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. This is a great week. It was a great week last week for the Titans, and really it comes down to Derrick Henry, doesn't it?
Derrick Henry, Big Jeff. Even the play before, you had Amani Hooker with a huge stop to put them in position to make that play at the very end, where Josh Allen did not slip, by the way. He ran into the immovable object of Big Jeff, and Jeff knocked him back. But we've had some good players step up and much needed. A lot of younger players, because over the last couple of years, they've had a lot of veteran leadership go. You had Delaney Walker, Jarrell Casey, Wesley Woodyard, Logan Ryan. The list goes on, and you start eventually. You got a lot of young guys that have to figure it out. And so far, 4-2, they look like they are.
So Derrick Henry is he's pretty much the leader, right?
Yeah, he is the leader. He is the guy that everything runs through. It looks like, especially this year. Keep waiting for the game that they have to deviate a little bit if he's not able to get started as quickly as they like, or it doesn't get, for whatever reason, the 9 or 10 minute in the box actually works. But Tannehill is more than capable of throwing the ball down the field. We just have to have the consistency in having the receivers in the lineup. Because at different points, you've had AJ out, you've had Julio out, Josh Reynolds. I don't know, he's not hardly played. Cam Braxton just tore his ACL. You've got Chester Rogers and Marcus Johnson, who signed in the offseason. You're like, yeah, that's cool, but good training camp bodies, and they both have produced well. And Chester's hurt now, but then now you're going to have to go out and bring another guy up, maybe Mason Kinsey from the practice squad or 4th-round pick, Des Fitzpatrick. There's just that inconsistency of who you're going to have in the lineup, because it's different every week, and that's hard to get a rhythm for Tannehill. That's a tough spot to be in.
Well, you talk about all the injuries, and Derrick Henry is amazing. It even goes back to AP Adrian Peterson back in the day. Everyone knew the ball was going to him. Everyone knows the ball's going to Derrick Henry, and they still can't stop him. So we were talking a little bit earlier about him as an MVP candidate. Talk a little bit about that and what he would have to do to be in that conversation and actually win it this year.
God, running for 3,000 yards. No, I'm kidding.
Maybe though, right?
He was 2,000 yards. Well ahead of the second guy last year, and obviously a huge part. I don't know if anybody was more valuable to their team last year other than him. And then it's like he didn't get a sniff. This year, 6 games in, 7th game coming week 7 this Sunday, he very well could hit 1,000 yards in his first 7 games. And whether he keeps that up, it's insane. Whether he keeps that up the next, 10 now, it remains to be seen. But even then, if he hits 2,000 yards again, how do you not look at him and think, God, he's got to be MVP. He's got to be top 3. Even top 3, I think it's respectable. Putting him outside of top 3, if he keeps this up, that's a slap in the face. And again, I know it's a quarterback league, but man, Derrick Henry's doing stuff that maybe will be done again. That might never be done. To hitting 2,000 yards back to back, 2,000 yards more than once. There's a lot of history. We're watching a living legend here.
Well, right, and so you talk about legends, and I followed the Titans and the Oilers, and where does Derrick Henry rank among some of the all-time Titan Oiler running backs, do you think?
God, he's got to be top 3, if not now. He's closing in on 1, because Chris Johnson had an incredible career, super fast, just elusive, unbelievable 2,000-yard season. Also, kind of fell off a little bit after that, but then there's inconsistencies of the line, and the quarterback position was a revolving door. You had Hasselbeck and Locker. You didn't know who was going to play week to week. And then the next year, they bring in, I think it was Fitzpatrick that year. Then the year after that, it was goofy. But then Eddie George, same way as Henry, early in the career, 8, 9 men in the box when you had McNair kind of really coming into his own and learning how to play quarterback at an NFL level.
Mhm.
And the offense ran through Eddie, and he still couldn't be stopped. I think, God, how was it, 7 or 8 seasons in a row, 1,200 plus yards straight, which
Mhm.
was like top 3 or 4 all time. But then now you've got then it ended up going through McNair, which then it's it became more of a passing team. And then the following year after that happened, they released Eddie and kind of spread it out some. But then you have Earl Campbell, which
Mhm.
you can and can't count him because one, he played in a different era, like feels like 100 years ago. It wasn't, but then he also played for Houston, of course, versus Nashville. But man, that guy, he didn't run out of bounds. He wanted to hit you. He wanted to knock the hell out of you every play. And I love that. The poor guy can barely walk now, but
Mhm.
man, he got. I don't know if there's a guy that's given his all like that guy did. But to answer your question, though, I think Henry is on his way. I mean, if he hits 2,000 yards again, one, I think he's a pure Hall of Famer. Two, he's submitted himself. Regardless, he's still behind Eddie in the career yards, but he's the best at that position in history for this team by far.
And he does kind of run like Earl Campbell. You watch some of those old videos of Earl Campbell being torn out of his jersey and just running and compare it to last year with that stiff arm, crazy stiff arm. It didn't even count. I think it was a holding call or something, right?
Yeah,
Uh, but that I mean, you still look at that. That was just an amazing play. I mean, similar kind of styles.
but yeah, very similar. I mean, I see a lot of similarities. I mean, really, if you look at it, there's similarities with the breakaway speed that Henry can get through a line multiple times this year, not even be touched and get to the end zone. He barely got touched on that 76-yard run the other night, but then after that, he's gone. There's several instances against Jacksonville the week before that he was at, they're inside the goal line, inside the 10. They run him. He does not get touched, and he goes in the end zone. I mean, the and the hole wasn't even like super big, not big enough for me or you to run through, but it was big enough to where he has that speed. It's almost like a Madden, like people say, a Madden character. This guy's like so damn big, and he runs that fast. I'm like, I don't. There's no real way to game plan for him because if you stack the box, he's going to wear you out. But then eventually he's going to break one, hit the hole, and do that. And which is what Chris Johnson did. But then Eddie also would do the same thing with Henry. Is he would wear you down first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. But sometimes only getting a 2, 3 yards a pop. But then you eventually the fourth quarter, you're hitting 7, 8, 10 yards. They're just like, I don't want to tackle this guy anymore. He's hit me 30 something times. This guy is coming downhill and he's running harder than he was in the first quarter. What's wrong with him?
Mhm. Now think back. Obviously, you look now and you see how good he is. But when they drafted him, what were you thinking? Because Alabama running backs did not have a good track record at the time with Trent Richardson, and what did you think when they did draft him?
I thought, man, this is a good compliment to DeMarco Murray. And I mean, it was
Right.
John Robinson's first draft. So I was like, okay, give this guy the benefit of the doubt. He traded for DeMarco Murray, who led the AFC in rushing his first year. He drafts a year ahead. So you look at Kevin Byard and you think, okay, you're drafting him so that Rashad Johnson is gone next year. He can step in that role. So I'm thinking, okay, there's a chance this guy's so big. But like you said, you had the Mark Ingrams, who's turned out okay, Trent Richardson. I mean, you could go down the list of running backs, TJ Yeldon, guys that just did not
Mhm.
perform like everybody, like you would expect from a running back factory. But then, now you're getting most of the guys that are good from Alabama transferred like Alvin Kamara and I mean just a couple of the other guys that ended up being really good. Najee Harris, I think, is going to be a monster. But
Yeah.
just then, I thought, man, this is cool. I mean, you had 3 second-round picks that year, and then he's your third, and then that guy ends up being still only getting like 10 or 12 million a year, and he's the best running back in the league. I mean, that's a bargain.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's go ahead and look big picture for the Titans this year. They had the big win against Buffalo, which had, been an AFC, measuring stick, so to speak. Um, what is the ceiling for the Titans this year, and where does that win kind of put them? I mean, does it put them kind of in the race?
Definitely got to be in the race. I mean, not by any means the front runner, because Buffalo is still really good. I mean,
They are.
we beat it. They got him by beat him by 3, which a win is a win. I mean, you can beat him by 3, or like
Yep.
the Titans did last year by 26, like 42. Yeah, my math sucks, but yeah, 26. And I mean, it still looks, it's still the same on the win loss column, but it's just amazing. I mean, I think that they're still, I don't want to say they're behind Buffalo, but I mean, they're right there. And I think the ceiling is, if the majority of the good players stay healthy and Henry does what he does now, and you get Tannehill in the playoffs to do what he has done a lot of 2019 season in the playoff, the first 2 games,
Mm-hmm.
even with Henry running wild, ceiling's the Super Bowl. I mean, I think they've got, you don't trade for Julio, and you're not bringing in guys like you're bringing in and building around Henry and Tannehill to not be serious enough to make a run. And there's still talks about potential trades. I don't know that they do, because they dipped into 2022 this year for Julio with second and fourth. But then you can't. Do you really want to dip into 2023 picks? And you're thinking you're already, you're knocking out 2 years of draft picks. Yet it better work out.
Well, yeah, and we talk about Tannehill. Is he really? He had 2019. I mean, is he really the long-term answer at quarterback? I mean, he had issues when he was with the Dolphins, and is he? I mean, does the fan base kind of look at him now as is the one that can kind of take him deep into the playoffs and Super Bowl? Really?
I hope so, man. Because I mean, I look at it, and long term, I don't think the answer is like what, 33. I mean, long term, I don't think, but I think he's the midterm interim. Like, you got like a, well, not interim, like you got like a, he's got 2-3 years left on his contract, and then maybe another 1 year extension after that. You get 3 or 4 more years out of him, and sometime in the next 3 years you draft the eventual successor. I mean, I think you can. I mean, this. I think honestly, I've talked to people about this before. The window for this team is probably 3 years. I mean, because Julio is, is getting up there. He's still great, but he's getting up there. Tannehill is a little older. Henry, I'm never going to bet against Henry. I mean, Henry's the one that I think, man, this guy could do it 10 more years. I mean, he's that good. He's just that freaking physically gifted beast. You've seen his workouts where he's doing push-ups on the ball. Like, God. And then you see people trying it and busting their tails. Like, nah, this is not meant for the normal you and me trying to do this. But then you got the other thing that people don't think about is the contracts coming up. You got AJ coming up, Simmons coming up. Byard, you may have to get another extension if he keeps playing like this. Christian Fulton's going to get an extension. I mean, Amani Hooker's going to get an extension. David Long is going to get an extension, the linebacker. I mean, you've got a lot of guys. Nate Davis, if he turns it around, is going to get an extension. You've got a lot of guys that you've got to figure out. I mean, long term, what are you going to do?
Right. And going back to Tannehill, what do you see as the difference between 2019 and now? Is it just because of the injuries at wide receiver, or what is he not doing now that he maybe isn't? I don't know. Isn't really jumping out at everyone.
To me, it's just, I mean, continuing. I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay, it's just part of it to me is the playbook. It's just, I mean, learning a new playbook. You've got a lot of things that Arthur Smith did, but Todd Downing does it his way. So you've got those adjustments. You've got the offensive line is struggling. The poor guy's been sacked God knows how many times. He's been hit even more. He's been pressured even more. And the line has struggled. And, I mean, for whatever reason, Lewan coming off an injury, I get that. I'm going to cut him some slack. He's been really good. He's gotten better the last couple games as far as what they've asked him to do. Saffold has been overall pretty good, minus trying to catch the pass meant for Derrick Henry a couple weeks ago, which blows my mind. Ben Jones has been solid, as always. Nate Davis, I feel bad for the guy. I don't know what's going on there. I feel like it's going to turn around. And right tackle, Kez has not been bad. I mean, he's been times he started out slow, but he's gotten better. They're being more asked to run block. And I don't know what that part is, but I think that's a big component in it. And again, the other thing, like we talked about, is just the receivers in and out. You got Julio, who's come out of, I think, 2 games now because of a hamstring. You've
Mm-hmm.
got AJ, who has not been completely healthy. You've got Reynolds, who is signed to be your number 3, who has barely played for whatever reason. Nobody knows. You've got your 4th-round pick, Des Fitzpatrick, who's on the practice squad. Cam Batson towards ACL the other night. That guy's been a weapon. He can catch. He can catch out of the backfield. He can do the slot. He can do reverses. The guy's good. People keep writing him off and they keep pushing him down, but he keeps coming in and making plays. But then Chester Rogers and Marcus Johnson. The tight end part, I think you've got guys that are good. I don't think you have one great tight end, and that's not a knock at anybody. I mean, you don't have a Gronk or a Antonio Gates, or, no, Antonio Gates is not playing anymore, but you don't have that alpha dog, future Hall of Famer guy at tight end. Like, I mean, you don't have like a Delaney Walker, like a clear cut number 1. You don't necessarily need one.
And why they let him go? Just they couldn't afford him, or
no? Delaney, though, he was okay. So he was hurt. He got hurt in 2018 in that game, the Miami Dolphins game that lasted, like 4 days. So that thing, he got hurt in that. Of course, a lot of people got hurt in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Juan got knocked out. Mariota got hurt. Yeah, it was but I mean, then you have who was it? The other one, Jonnu Smith. They let him walk because he was getting, I think, over $12 million a year to play for the Patriots. I mean, I don't think they didn't value him, and plus that money had to go elsewhere. That money had to address the offensive line. That had to address pass rushers and depth at the secondary. I mean, you had to address certain parts, and it's like, you win some, you lose some there. But Ferguson's been good.
I said, yeah, he had some good games toward the end of last year, right?
Correct, yeah. And then Ferguson's looked good. I mean, Jeff Swaim is overall a really good blocker. There's one, it was a Jets or Jaguars game, I can't remember. One game that I thought, oh, that looked like Tebow out there trying to block. It was, but then you've got Michael Pruitt, who they brought back, and all of them, they play well together. You got guys that block. You got, and I think another part that's underrated that a lot of people talk about is the receivers blocking. Like when they put it out there very clear that we want receivers that will block, because you know what that means. They're going to bring in guys that are going to want to hit you in the mouth and create holes for Henry and open up the offense. Unselfish guys that want to play special teams, that want to hit people, they want to catch. They don't want to just pad their stats with receptions and get paid a year later, which I mean, there's a lot going on there, I think.
Absolutely. And you talked a little bit about the Titans missing Arthur Smith, and Mike Vrabel, he's been a solid hire as coach, but they do miss Arthur Smith kind of overall in the offense. Then
I mean overall, I think there's been growing pains with Todd Downing. Todd Downing has, I think, over 30 years of NFL experience. The offense, I think, is honestly even with all the rotate pieces coming in and out of the offense. You don't know who you're going to have every week, except for Henry and Tannehill. They're still putting up a lot of points. I don't remember the exact stats, but they're pretty high in scoring. They're pretty high in points per game. They're pretty high in rushing touchdowns, obviously, with Henry. They're really, really high with, like, I mean, overall red zone efficiency. I mean, you got a kick. You finally got a kicker that's hit. He's only missed, like, I think 2. And one of them, of course, was the game, the one against the Jets. But I can't fault him for that. That guy has hit and hit and hit when he's been called upon. And just coming into a new situation with a new holder and a new long snapper, I mean, you got to make do with that and just hope for the best. You're not like you're having the stability we had here for years, where you had Suckup for a long time. Before that, you had Baronis for a long time. Before that, you had Eldel Greco. I mean, they've been lucky with only really 2 punters in 20-something years also, and only a couple kickers up until last year when they've had like 100 over the last 2 years.
And Bullock was a little bit questionable. Is he a little bit hurt this week, or is he?
No, I think, as people call him, Fat Randy, I think Fat Randy's ready to go. He is ready. He is I think he's good. I mean, I've not seen anything. I don't remember anything on the injury report that he was not good to go. So hopefully they don't need him until we get
Right, right.
till we get 6. But
Love
that's
that. Fat Randy. I have not heard that.
oh man, yeah, it's a good nickname. I mean, he's a little he's or some people have called him Thicker Kicker.
Love it. Love it. I haven't heard those.
Mm.
So how did they beat the Bills? I mean, was it because of just the game plan, or what would, or I mean, was because of the home field advantage, or what do you most kind of attribute to that win? Or, I mean, we just they kind of needed that win, or
I think sheer resiliency, honestly. I mean, you
Mhm.
look at just how they didn't want to give up and they just kept fighting and fighting. And I mean, it's like a heavyweight battle. You have a guy that, and then my stepson's like wanting to make the dog, and hopefully the dog doesn't like do any humping motions. Humping motion. Um, you had resiliency though. I mean, you had a good team that came in here overconfident, thinking, okay, we're the best. We, only allow X number of points per game. We
Mhm.
score X number of points per game. I mean, why can't we hang with them? Well, Titans are like, well, why can't we hang with y'all? We beat y'all last year. I
Mhm.
don't care if you're playing better, you're peaking better earlier, but they did everything they could to stop Derrick Henry. And then here comes 76 yards and he's gone. Then 2 touchdowns later. I just being a heavyweight being like a heavyweight fight, not backing down, pound for pound, blow for blow. They just kept going at it, and I think they were the better team the other night. I mean, they really pushed it to where they wanted to make a statement. And honestly, that I know people are saying, oh, they should have, they were right to go for it on 4th and short with Josh Allen. Yeah, I mean, obviously now it wasn't the right decision. I mean, but and they've been good with that. But man, in enemy territory, I think
Mhm.
if you look at that and you're like, if for some reason it goes to overtime and the Titans get the ball, they won't no part of running stopping Derrick Henry
Nope.
5 or 6 more runs.
Nope.
So I get it, but man, I would have really liked to have just. I mean, I'm surprised that they didn't do something different. I know Josh Allen is a monster,
Mhm.
but that was everybody knew in that stadium that they were going to sneak him up
Sneak it.
the
Yep.
left side, and of course, if you listen to Chris Broussard, they didn't have Taylor Lewan, so that was oh my god, that was. Did you see that?
Yeah, yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oof. Man, if they had Derrick Henry back there too, no, I'm kidding.
Right, right. You know, it is interesting. You think about, so like with the uh, I've talked to a couple of Bills people, and just looking at one prior to the game, one after the game. But the Bills, I looked at them as kind of the most complete team. But here you have the Titans who won it shorthanded,
Yeah,
without AJ Brown, and without Julio at full strength. So does that give you and the fan base like more confidence that you can hang with them,
it
come
does.
playoff time? Yeah.
It does, but I mean, I look at it and I'm like, God, we had some injuries in that game. We lost Cam Batson, one of he was
Hmm.
one of our return guys, and a slot guy, main
Hmm.
slot guy, because Reynolds can't get on the field. We lost Caleb Farley, our first round pick at corner, which sucks also. But I mean, and then but you also didn't have Christian Fulton, your number one corner. So I mean, they're really plugging and playing, and Shane Bowen has gotten a lot of crap. I mean, he got it last year when he was I guess the de facto defensive coordinator. They didn't actually give him the title, which everybody knew he was calling the plays.
Uh-huh.
And then finally they just said, "Oh, let's name him the DC." Well, you look last year, he didn't have a lot to work with. You had when they brought in Clowney, they brought in Vic Beasley. Vic didn't even want to play. Vic wanted to be like a pastor or something. I mean,
Hmm.
that should have been a red flag there. It took you till mid-August to sign Clowney, which should have been another red flag.
Hmm.
And then of course he ended up being hurt or whatever it is. But just Bowen didn't get given a great deal of tools to work with, and this year he's got a little bit more. He still has not gotten the production out of Bud Dupree yet. But
Mhm.
Danico Autry's been incredible. Jeffrey Simmons has been incredible. Tierra Tart has been disruptive. Harold Landry's just been a monster. I mean, there's been Sean calls him Honor Landry. I mean, he's been disruptive, and you're getting great production out of David Long. I mean, the other end, Rashawn Evans had a good game finally. You got guys that are stepping up when they need to, which I think is good. I just hope these injuries don't continue to compile because I mean you can only go so far with that to where you if you get to the point where you're like signing people off the street in December to try to make a playoff run because you've got so many injuries, it's not going to January's going to be quick.
Well, unless you have Tom Brady, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, Tom Brady and me, you, and my wife and stepson, and
Can all do that.
all
Yeah.
5 other people. Let's roll.
So yeah, I mean, when you talk about some of the key defensive players, in fantasy football, I've just tried to start as many wide receivers against that Titan secondary.
Yeah.
I mean, is that pretty much the weakness there?
Yeah, I would say because I mean it's just the pass rush really, as you know, the pass rush will help create time for the secondary to really make things happen, which they've been put in a bad spot. And Fulton has done outstanding considering that. And I mean, you get Breon Borders has done well overall, minus a couple times where single coverage against a number one receiver, which that shouldn't happen, but it does.
Hmm.
But I think if the pass rush got better, the secondary would be a lot better, like anything else. But I just the injuries too. They just,
Hmm.
I mean, I think you're probably safe to probably keep starting wide receivers. I hate to say that until they get some of those, until you get Bud Dupree completely healthy. But Jeffrey Simmons, man, that guy is a monster. And his stuff doesn't show up on the stat sheets. And he just like so many important things. The
Hmm.
pressures, the disruptiveness, Cart getting double teamed with blocks and getting Autry open, Tart open, another inside, maybe blitzing Elijah Molden, the rookie DB, off out of the nickel, and he hit somebody. I mean, it's
Hmm.
just you're getting so much pressure from that defensive line's incredible. It's just the outside linebackers outside of Landry, and even then Landry was getting pressure. And they're eventually going to feed off that, and they're going to have to double team him, which is going to leave somebody else open.
So I'm after this, I'm actually doing our week 7 preview show with my co-host, and we're going to talk about the game this weekend. So give me a little bit of head start on him. What do you see them beating the Chiefs? You know, they're obviously going to have to. I mean, the Chiefs are horrible. With their run defense. Do you see them really kind of beating the Chiefs here?
I mean, as a Titans fan, I'm gonna say they're gonna beat everybody. So I mean,
Right, right.
really, I mean, it. This team, and I told somebody this before the game on Monday with the Bills. It wouldn't surprise me if the Titans blew somebody out, if they got blown out, if they win by like 3, if they lose by like 3. It just
Hmm.
completely depends on the flow of the game, how it goes, and if you can get Henry going early and you get Henry continuing to go, and you got healthy guys out there and make a stop or two on defense, just keep Mahomes off the field. I mean, that's going to be huge. I know Tyreek Hill's not practice Thursday. He's not practice Wednesday. He's going to play. He's going to practice
Yeah.
tomorrow. It's good. For them. Kelsey's going to play, or as one of the interviews I saw him, he's going to play. Running game, Darrell Williams is the one, but I almost want them to play. I was telling somebody this the other day too. I almost want them to play them like they did Jacksonville. You drop more people back and make Darrell Williams beat you like they did with James Robinson.
Hmm.
James Robinson put up a career high rushing yards. They got beat by 4 scores. I mean, I will take that kind of make Mahomes to where he has 8 or 9 people back there, and he just can't. He doesn't have anywhere to throw the ball, so he has to run around, put a spy on him because he likes to run a little bit when there's a lane, and just kind of. I mean, you're going to have to switch it up a lot and confuse him, but Holmes is brilliant. It's going to be hard to outsmart him and Andy Reid and that OC they have, and all that experience on the offensive side. Bieniemy, Kevin
Hmm.
O'Connell. I mean, you've got a lot of experience on that side that just is. I mean, you got a lot of smart people helping him, and he's smart.
Yeah, because I was looking at my notes here, and yeah, obviously pressuring the quarterback can be important for the Titans, but Mahomes can take advantage of that. you give someone who's won the Super Bowl, you give them the benefit of the doubt, you know, and um, with the Titans, that they had a great win there versus the Bills. Are they going to get the benefit of the doubt because of that win, or nationally, or was that more about what the Josh Allen and the Bills didn't do as opposed to what the Titans did do?
I think it's what the Titans did do.
Yeah.
You see very few people. It's Bills fans that would say, "Oh, he slipped. Oh, he should have gone for it." Yeah, he didn't slip. If you go back and watch it, he didn't slip. It's more about what the Titans did. The Titans made the play on third down with Amani Hooker to stop Josh Allen short, and then Jeffrey Simmons made the play. The very next play, when they actually went for it, and it's like, they're not going to go for it. And it's like, oh my God, they are. Okay. But they made the key players made key stops and key plays when they needed to. And it all starts up front from both sides. If the Titans can run the ball well, keep Mahomes off the field, and do better on the time of possession than the Bills did, against the Bills, that the Titans only had the ball, I think, like 9 minutes in the first half of the last game. And you just have to be able to get pressure into it so they can't. You got to get to Mahomes. You've got to be able to pressure him. And if they can make them play like they did the first half of their last game, then anything's possible. You just got to get, because Mahomes has been very streaky this year. 8 interceptions, tied for second. He's made some bad throws. He's had some receivers that have not been super precise with their routes too. So there's a little bit of both, but you just have to, it's not luck. You have to really be able to just make stuff happen. You've got to be able to get in his face and pressure him and do what they did before the adjustments were made for Kansas City to just come out and just destroy Washington.
So, talking about the season, what do you see the record for the Titans being, and how important would it be to have a home playoff game? And is it maybe possible?
It's very possible. I don't know. Honestly, I think the record part's hard because it wouldn't surprise me if they win 9, 10, 11 games. They'll win the division. I think they'll win the division. Houston and Jacksonville.
Yep.
We may be able to get a field of 11 or 22 and maybe compete, score a touchdown or two. But the Colts are the only one that really are within striking distance. And even then, you've got Carson Wentz as your quarterback. I don't really feel – and they're one of their best defensive players just tore his ACL, Blackman, the guy that said they were going to tackle Henry. Well, not going to get that chance the second time around. But as far as a home playoff game, me as a fan, I love going to home playoff games. They're fun. As looking back the last 20 years, the Titans have not been very good in those home playoff games. We have won, let's see, they beat Buffalo, they beat Pittsburgh, they have lost to Baltimore 3 times, and they're not for whatever reason they play better on the road. But I want the playoff game because at some point that's going to change, especially if you had an atmosphere like you did Monday night where it was just stupid loud. You had a record 69,420, great number, total fans in the stadium. And it was probably 35-40% Bills. People were saying it was 50-60%. It was not. I was there. Stupid people on TV that like, oh, I see that because they showed the game an hour and a half before, and it's mostly Bills fans there early because most of them are all standing right in front of the ESPN booth, and It's like, yeah, that's what they're seeing on TV. They're seeing that, and they think, oh, there's more Bills fans. No, there's not. Go to the game. If you didn't go to the game, shut up.
Right. So, do you think this team then has kind of what it takes to, at least make a deep run with Tannehill?
I do. I think Tannehill's good enough to do it. He's not Case Keenum trying to go out there and manage a game and they're up by 10, by the way, which is surprising, but good. But you got a guy that can make NFL throws, who's got a lot of experience, that has shown that he can take over a game and he can throw for 300-something yards like he did against Seattle. He and Henry both were the reason that Seattle I mean, they beat Seattle. I mean, Tannehill just threw the ball over the yard. He can make NFL throws. He's smart. He's poised. He's got a lot of comeback. He's got a lot of comebacks here, fourth quarter comebacks. He's clutch, and I don't necessarily put the loss against the Ravens playoff game against him last year, because why are you throwing a deep route when you got four other receivers that are taller, a deep route to a guy that's like my height, 5'8"? Why are you, when that was not their first read? I don't know why. If it was, I don't know why it was, neither here nor there. But he played well enough to where they should have won. There was other things that just one of those full moon kind of weird games. But I think to answer your question, yeah, I do think this team has enough if provided they stay healthy and provided they get that second pass rusher like Dupree to step in and really do some things, because it's a patchwork secondary right now. You're keeping putting people in and out with those injuries. You're just going to have to make do there and have them play a way that's going to band-aid it, kind of.
Right. Yeah. There's so many pieces that really come together for even a playoff run or even a Super Bowl run. And, looking ahead to next year, what do you see some of the draft targets for this team for 2022 that would really kind of help with the depth and maybe even provide some players or maybe take them to the next step?
Well, I think honestly, you don't have your second round pick, you don't have your fourth round pick, so you're already a little scrapped, which is why I think it trades off the books, by the way. But I mean, that's the part where you could realistically trade down in the first round, depending on where you have your pick, and then hopefully it's pick 32 and trade down a little bit, and then I mean, they're going to need another corner. They need another pass rusher. Every team can say they need another corner and pass rusher. They need another offensive lineman. I don't think they need to draft another receiver. I think they're fine. Really think they're fine there. I mean, you kind of eventually need to draft a tight end or get an elite tight end, somebody that can really stretch the field like Delaney Walker did. Because I think this offense, Tannehill and any quarterback is better when you have that safety net, like McNair had Wycheck, and then Locker and Mariota and Tannehill. Well, no, Locker and Mariota did have Delaney. Tannehill's not had that guy. He's had it in Miami with Charles Clay, but he's never had that guy here. But I think those positions, I think inside linebacker is going to be an interesting one, because you're probably going to lose Jayon after this year. Rashawn Evans didn't get his fifth-year option, so he's probably gone. So then you've got Monty Rice, who they drafted this year out of Georgia, third round, and you've got David Long. You're going to need a third guy. I mean, it's just it is what it is.
Right. It's so interesting how the rosters are put together, and obviously it'd be nice to have a higher pick. You just never know, and so it sounds like they're going to have to definitely do some maneuvering, not having all their picks though.
And he loves to trade, so yeah. I mean, if anybody can do it, he can. I mean, he's traded about every year. I think he's moved up and down some, so that's something he's good at doing. And they've got to be able to hit on some of these higher picks. And people rip him for his misses. You look at every single NFL team has butchered first round picks so bad. I mean, not to the degree that they butchered last year's number 79, that we will not mention his name on air because that is a curse word around here. But yeah, that was a situation that was unprecedented. That'll never happen again, I think. But you can't miss on a guy like that. The year before, they get Jeffrey Simmons, A.J. Brown, David Long, Amani Hooker, Nate Davis. I mean, I think one other guy. And that draft, you hit on like everybody but DeAndre Walker. I mean, you can't ask for better. So then the next year, you hit this year on Christian Fulton, which he didn't play much last year because he got hurt. I'm cool with that. You hit on one damn near shutdown corner. I'm cool with that. That's a win, whether you hit anything else or not. This year, if they get Farley healthy and one of these other guys contributes, but you've got to hit when you got a first round pick. You got to hit on it. I mean, more often than not, and that's been closer to 40-60, I think.
Well, yeah, the big and the biggest thing for Ron will be the getting people healthy, and especially with such key pieces as Brown and Julio. And is it kind of looking like they're going to be you know sit out a few weeks and they'll be healthy, or it just is it just going to be throughout the whole season probably?
They gotta get HH's got like food for us. He ate Chipotle, so don't eat Chipotle. He
I
apparently.
shouldn't tell you that we're sponsored by Chipotle. We're
Oh,
not. I'm just kidding.
yeah, I was gonna say, well, you might want to switch. No, I'm kidding. No, so he's had the issue last couple of days. He looked fine Monday.
Hmm.
Julio has, my understanding, a hamstring, so that could be a 1 week injury. That could be a 6 month injury. Hamstrings are funny because you can't really determine the severity based on MRIs and stuff. So you just have to hope for the
Hmm.
best. But that's a big thing. That could be a lingering thing. I don't know that you can afford. You definitely really almost can't afford to sit in this weekend unless he just can't go.
Right.
I mean, it's just one of those things. What do you do? But because you
Right.
don't really have a lot of, you have depth, but you don't because you got other guys that are getting hurt. But you, that's what they're paying the OC and the DC to figure out is,
Hmm.
okay, next man up. Who's the next man up, and how can we use them most effectively?
Absolutely. Well, this has been fantastic. I definitely appreciate you taking your time, and I've definitely learned a ton more about the Titans. And um, I'm hoping that they do get healthy. It's good to see some of these stars performing at the highest level, and you just want to see when the chips are down, all the players all uh, together. Can they do it, or do they have enough?
For sure. And I mean, I love that. I love the resiliency of this group. And I mean, they're, no matter who goes down, they get somebody to come in, and they've overall played well enough to get through that game.
Yeah.
And it's hard to sustain that, but I hope they do. And I hope they actually, the injuries I'm hoping they're getting the injury stuff out of the way. I'm hoping they don't have like a COVID outbreak like last year. That was,
Oh, right.
oh my God, that was,
Oh, yeah.
and then the excuses, oh, the other teams were pissed because we're not playing. It's like,
Mhm.
we didn't, our guys didn't go get COVID in purpose. They're not going to strip clubs and just,
Doing
it's
all
one of
that
those
stuff.
things. I mean, it is,
Yeah.
it just happens. And then
Yeah.
other teams got it. And then we were like, hey, well, why don't y'all forfeit now? Y'all were telling that to us. But then
Right.
if we get these injury bugs out of the way and get some of these, like week one against the Cardinals, who we didn't realize would be the best team right now in the NFL,
Right.
and they beat us pretty badly. I mean, which they're good, but get some of those games like that out of the way. Get the Jets game
Yeah.
where you drop a game that you should just blow somebody out,
Yep.
and get that momentum going. I want them. I don't. I mean, Buffalo. It's great they were playing great the first 5 weeks of the season overall. I want to be playing great the last 5 weeks of the season, going in the playoffs. They're feeling themselves, going well, feeling themselves, and they're feeling confident. That sounds
Yeah.
really bad,
Yeah.
but
No, in this in against the Chiefs, this could be another game that could keep that momentum going. Definitely.
man, I sure hope so. Well, we'll be watching. I'll be there bright and early Sunday morning, ready to go, and praying for no rain. I want just a normal, good football day like we had on Monday, or
Yeah.
whether we're having now. It's perfect. Let's keep it going.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again. Once again, this has been NFL Outdated Cover 2 series on the Tennessee Titans. And Preston, they can find you at the real Prez 10 on Twitter. Where else can they find you?
Well, if you're a collector, if you like looking at sports memorabilia, I've got a Instagram, and I put a little bit of my collecting stuff on Twitter, but the Instagram is the Titans Collection. So if you want to go check that out, I post a couple times a day, just enough to kind of show people stuff and not be obnoxious because I see people that post 50 times a day. You know how it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, all right, I'm gonna meet this person. I'm tired of seeing this person. Every post is there. It's like I ain't got time to see.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not following just you. I got to have other people on the timeline. You got to go, but I have fun doing that. And that's the other thing is just the collecting thing is a lot of fun. And
Hmm.
that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And I look forward to seeing you on Twitter and definitely following you on Instagram and Twitter. So thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Tighten up.